Hi, Herman.
Seriously?
Daddy D, that is me, committing suicide happily. Someone please come murder me, then hang my corpse up from a tree. Look out, here's Daddy D. It's about that time, boys and girls. Today we're summing up Marvel's Spider-Man by Insomniac Games. If you couldn't tell from my outfit, I really like Spider-Man. And I have highly been anticipating this game, to the point where I bought a whole ass PS4. What a fucking loser. Hey, yo, shut the fuck up. Marvel's Spider-Man is a phenomenal game, and because I'll basically be giving Insomniac a well-deserved blowjob for the duration of this video, I'm gonna heavily compare this game to Batman so I have something to make fun of, and also sprinkle in a few clips of me regressing into an 8-year-old child. I'm Spider-Man. So for gameplay, we're going to divide this up into 4 main categories. Let's start with the web swinging, arguably the most important aspect about any Spider-Man game. It's a very specific traversal set only this character can bring to video games. And Insomniac handles it very beautifully with style, and that might just be our word of the day in fact. Style. The Spider-Man of this game's world has had his powers for 8 years, and you truly feel like you're a veteran web swinger just from smooth controls, the unique animations, and the fact that you can straight dive bomb from incredible heights. Not exactly something a rookie Spider-Man would do. And now just because I can.
Now I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Get down, girl, go ahead, get down.
I'm going to hell. This is where the Batman comparisons start to peek their ugly heads. Just like in the Arkham games, you have one main attack button and one counter, or in this case, dodge button. But if you look at Batman, there isn't much more to that to spice up the combat unless you're forced to work around very specific enemy types. Spider-Man, on the other hand, is light, agile, and has a whole extra dimension to the combat. Webs. You can pull enemies near you or quickly go to them, switching up the verticality of your encounters on the fly. Meanwhile, Batman is over here like,
Fight going on over there. What are you gonna do, man? This is easy, Batman.
you know what, since we're looking at Batman footage, pay close attention to the counter symbols over the heads of the bad guys. Now, I'm not saying Batman took things from Spider-Man, now that would just be ridiculous, but what I am saying is, in the case of Who Wore It Better Game Combat Edition, I gotta give it to my boy Peter over here. Agility, speed, grace, gadgets, there's so much fun to be had here. The game also has this thing called Focus. You charge it up and you can either heal or do a sick-ass finisher, allowing true tactical control over your engagements. Although, me personally, sick-ass finisher. Every single time. The different mob types also have ways to get around them, but even then, the combat is full of options, and is nowhere near as limiting as another game belonging to a certain bat-themed crybaby bitch.
That's enough. You're going to jail.
Well, guess who's gonna visit me in jail, Batman? My parents.
What? Parents?
Now, it's kinda hard to pinpoint what I should even talk about here. There are sections where you don't play as Spider-Man, but rather Mary Jane or Miles Morales. These are also technically stealth sections, I guess meant to break up the pacing. From a story standpoint, it does make sense why they're there, and we'll get to that later. And don't get me wrong, MJ here is awesome, more on that in the spoilers section. She's way better than fucking Kirsten Dunst.
This isn't about you. This is about me.
Oh, shut the f up. But Mary Jane's gameplay sections leave something to be desired. The best one of these by far is definitely the Grand Central Station section, where you have access to Spider-Man and you're able to call out which bad guys he's able to take down. But yet, this section always makes me ask myself, wouldn't this mission be totally dope if it was just Spider-Man stealth? Because by this point in the game, you have access to most of your gadgets, and that's what makes the stealth sections really pop. The stealth sections, once you've beaten the game and you're out here doing like the Taskmaster stealth missions, that's fucking boss, but the story mode itself doesn't really give too much of an opportunity to have the stealth specifically shine. The Spider-Man combat is so good that it sort of hinders the stealth a little bit. But by the time you get all your gadgets, you're probably balls deep in the combat system, fighting dudes with electric fists and shit. Speaking of electric fists, the suits. The suits in the game are absolutely awesome, and they're not paid DLC, and they each come with individual suit powers that can be swapped out with any suit. Building up focus, suit power for that. Need to whip up all your enemies, suit power for that. Electric fists, suit power for that. Need to convince all your stupid friends that the moon landing was in fact real and they probably watch way too many Shane Dawson videos, there's a suit power for that. The only disappointment here really is that the lack of the amazing Bagman suit, but hopefully DLC or a sequel got me covered. Suits are unlocked through various ways. Through either just straight leveling up or doing activities like collecting, backpacks, stalking a sexy cat burglar, killing hookers, driving fast, jumping out of planes, you get the point. Backpacks are cool if you're a nerd. City is full of random crimes that don't feel too repetitive. Am I missing something? Boss battles kinda suck. You have a point there. But instead of being boring and listing why they're average at best, here's a short video presentation.
Welcome to Average Boss Battles 101. In today's session, we will be discussing how to successfully defeat the Shocker in Spider-Man PS4. Step 1. Be sure to just swing around and dodge the Shocker. Also, remember you have a magic dodge button that will get you out of any sticky situation, like a Jehovah's Witness visit, or even an ex-girlfriend's wedding. Let's move on to step 2. Proceed to press the clear and obvious button prompt displayed here. Not only will this cause you to attack the Shocker, but you will prove to yourself and the rest of the world that you can, in fact, read. Congratulations! Simply repeat these steps until you see a cutscene. Well done, player. You now have what it takes to challenge the mighty Sinister Six in Marvel Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4.
That segment was brought to you by Sprite. No, it wasn't. Just a side note, Insomniac, this game really is awesome, but just try to hone in the boss battles a little bit more, maybe sprinkle a little bit more supervillain chases like the Shocker one, that one was pretty dope, and maybe make a designated wall stick button. Maybe throw in a pizza delivery mission, for old time's sake. So this last section is where I will get into spoilers. Let me please emphasize that in big, bold words. If you don't want any spoilers and have already convinced you that this game is basically Jesus incarnate, this review is basically over for you. Here goes the video score. If you still haven't played it yet but are still watching because you're a rebel, I like you. We would have been friends in high school. Marvel's Spider-Man has a very unique and stylistic approach to the Spider-Man mythos. Putting us 8 years after the spider bite, Peter finally gets to take down Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, which leads to other threats like Mr. Negative and the eventual Sinister Six led by Dr. Octopus. This story works for a number of reasons. Insomniac just understands the character. Peter's life is different than high school Peter, but it's still really shitty. His relationship with Mary Jane is really complicated. He works in a rinky-dink lab with Doc Ock for practically no money. There's a literal mission where he's evicted and you have to chase down garbage trucks to find your stuff. And at one point he's so broke that when he runs out of web fluid, he has to take the subway everywhere. Okay, that last one didn't actually happen, but it's the type of shit that would happen to Peter Parker is my point. They know the character and characters very well. Mary Jane is very likable as well, and although her gameplay segments aren't my favorite, I still connected to her character. Half the reason I think her gameplay segments aren't that necessary is because her cutscenes still do a tremendous job of giving her an arc, of being a doer and not wanting to be the damsel in distress that's always saved. Miles is handled brilliantly too. Again, his gameplay segments are not the best there is to offer, but I see why they're there. They ground the player and have you experience all the events that happened to him, like his dad's death and the aftermath. And at the end of this game, spoilers, setting him up for the sequel of getting spider powers. The last character I think I really need to touch on is Doc Ock. Now, any Spider-Man fan knew going in that Homeboy was gonna go crazy, but the writing and slow build up to that is what makes it more hard-hitting. My mans was a sweet scientist with a heart of gold that just wanted to help people without arms reach the top shelf. I mean, any shelf. Sadly, his mind gets warped by his own invention, becomes evil, and says, "Hey, I'm gonna start a rock band of supervillains. We're gonna be bigger than Queen." This game is definitely a must-have if you own a PS4, and if you're just a Spider-Man fan in general. The overall unique style and love for the character makes not just a great Spider-Man game, but one of the best Spider-Man adaptations period. Well, that was Marvel Spider-Man. It was so awesome that I felt deprived once I finished it. Which leaves only one question. What do I do until the DLC comes out? It's undie time, bitch!
Back again, back to the start again, back where I ought to been. Feels like the clock keeps turning. Back again, back where it all began. Coming around again, yeah, but I know this time I'm alive, and it feels like I'm on fire.
Oh, by the way, yeah, I know this video is a little bit late, but new video Saturday. Yeah, this coming Saturday. Didn't expect that, did you? Bitch.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread?